IELTS 2017 top speaking topics and how to approach them. Okay, so for the people, I just want to make it very, very clear today. First of all, we'll discuss the overview of the IELTS, what are the sections involved. Then we'll jump on to understand the all about the speaking section a little more detailed and what are the important parameters involved in marking and evaluation. Then comes the sample speaking question. I'm going to give you a sample question. We can solve it together as a part of this exercise in the webinar. Okay, so the more participation I see from the audience, the more better this the quality of the seminar would be. So I would request you guys to participate as much as possible. Now, some questions like what is a good score for USA University, when should I take the IELTS examination, is slightly away from the scope of discussion, but I would love to answer all those questions in the Q&A session. Just to get started, I think good score for a US university would be 7.5 plus would be a good score. And Anandraj, I can see your chat. Now I can see all of your chat except a couple of students like Madana Gopal, Faisal Firoz, Durga, Pooja M, Raga Likita, I think Sadia Afreen, Ashik, Ashwati, Akul Patel. Everyone else have, I think, responded once at least. So I have a very clear understanding on how many students are connected here. Okay, so first of all, does this agenda sound good? Can we get started with this as a primary agenda? Nikita says here, yes. Kul Patel, good to see you guys responding. That's great. Wonderful. A lot of yes coming in. All right. First of all, the objective of the webinar is to help you get an overview of the IELTS examination. Can you guys quickly type in what is the full form of IELTS in the chat box and let me know what is the full form of IELTS? Let's see who gets that right. Yes, wonderful, Mudita. International English Language Testing System. That's pretty good. That is the idea behind IELTS. It's an examination to understand your communication skills, your learning skills, your language skills. It's a very, very important part of the integral part of the MS application process and work also to a certain extent, because communication skill plays an important role in deciding what kind of success you will be in a very competitive environment. So the IELTS examination tests skills such as reading, speaking, writing, and of course listening. These are the four fundamental sections of the IELTS examination, which means that it is very important for you to build a balanced skill in all of these four arena. In this particular webinar, we're going to talk about the overview of a speaking section and how does the speaking action evolve. Now, to address that, I think you have to understand the speaking section has three important tasks. Okay, three important tasks. It will be separate day as that of your IELTS examination. The first of all, the three tasks are introduction, long term, and discussion. Okay, these are the three types of tasks involved in introduction in a speaking section of the IELTS examination. Each question involves this. So if you look at the first task, which is introduction and interview, the introduction and interview is where you have to understand the examiner initiates a conversation with you where you have to introduce yourself. The communication skill of a student is tested based on his ability to convey information and opinions. Now, it is to in this particular important exercise, the primary thing that they test you on is to understand how confident you are in evaluating yourself, how confident you are in talking about yourself. That is the primary objective. They'll try to understand how good you are in your language and your own field. That is a very, very important part of this particular session. Then you have to understand the questions asked are completely based on inputs you are given. They'll have a very, very generic topic like your family, your studies, your role model, your personal interests, which sports do you follow, who is your favorite sports star, who is your favorite celebrity. These kind of simple questions that connects to you and your understanding will be a part of evaluation. The idea is how well are you able to understand that. Okay, now, ideally, students want ask me how should I answer this question. Honestly speaking, this kind of a question you have to understand that it requires 3 to 4 complete sentences to be addressed, and you should be very, very confident Please try to be as confident as possible and don't stammer or hesitate. Moreover, answering questions with one syllabus like yes, no, all those very, very monologues and monosyllabic answers should be avoided at any cost. For every answer you give, have a proper sentence built for this particular aspect. Now, for example, they'll ask you questions like, who is your favorite role model? And if you come back and say that my favorite role model is Virat Kohli, and if the follow-up question from that they ask you like why do you think Virat Kohli is great, or why do you like Virat Kohli? Now, if that kind of a question comes, what would your answer be? Because I have seen students who join our IELTS program here at GREH talking to me about they like Kohli because he's good at cricket. That's all. Now, keep in mind, building ideas is very, very, for example, Anant Raj has said, my role model is Dr. Kalam. Now, keep in mind, that's a very good role model to keep Anant Raj, not at the cost of sounding wrong, but when you talk about a certain personality, please ensure that you know about that particular personality. For example, just for the sake of finding very intellectual, some of the audience who join my program here at IELTS come and tell me my role model is Elon Musk. So when I come up with a follow-up question, okay, what do you think? Why do you like Elon Musk? That's it. They get stumped because they know that this is a very famous personality, but they don't have a very detailed understanding. In fact, you can even say my role model is my dad or my mom, or you can even say my role model is my friend. You can say any of that because the objective here is not to come off as an intellectual geek, it's to come off as a proper student who knows what you are talking about. That is a very important aspect to keep in mind. The time duration for this is very, very simple. It's a 4 to 5 minute session with your understand, interview, and introduction. Okay, so are we familiar? Are we clear with the step one or the first task of the speaking section? Can we go forward to the next part? Wonderful. Akash says yes. She says yes. Dinesh Kannan, Pravalika have all said yes. Fantastic, guys. Now, moving forward, the next part is a long term. Now, when I say long term, what long term does is that uh, they'll they'll basically provide you a task card. Okay, they'll provide you a task card to the student containing a specific topic. Now, this task card will be something very generic. It will not be some. It will not involve you to know a lot of general affairs and all that. It will just involve you to talk about, say, noise, or it'll have words like action words, or it'll have words like adjective. So very, very simple task cards will be given to you, and the card contains details about the topic to be included in the talk, and also highlight the aspect to be elaborated. Okay, this section is all about how well you're able to build ideas in your mind and coherently present them. Now, how many of you here are familiar with the word coherent? How many of you are familiar with the word coherent? Yeah. Now, can you explain me what coherence is about? That's pretty good, Ashik. Anybody else? Not going out of topic, being same, explain coherent, please. So, Meghna, see, coherent is basically when you relate each and every idea you talk about. You build, for example, now let me give you an example. So, if the question comes, can you, what was your favorite pet you had? Okay, if that's the question, your favorite pet, I'll talk about that. I had a pet when I was when I was in my fifth grade. The name of it was a Labrador, and its name was Blipsy. He was black in color, and I really, really liked the dog. Right now, if you think about the three statements, it is very connected. Now, I was in my fifth grade. I had a dog. The dog was a Labrador, and then I talk about its color. Now, look at this example. If I say that my dog was black in color, which used to, and my cat was yellow, my dog was something my favorite. If you mix ideas and not build upon it, then it is not being coherent. You have to be very, very logical and very, very step by step explain and build the context of the given idea. Okay, now that's what coherent is about. Now you have to keep in mind the reason why I always say that you have to talk about things that you know is, please read the line given in this particular slide in the last part. Unlike the introduction, sorry, I'll just highlight that in a different color so that you're able to see that. Unlike the introduction part, the examiner will allow the student to talk at length without interfering in between, which means that you have to talk and you have to decide when to stop. Not only that, you also have to ensure there will be follow-up questions asked on each end. Okay, there'll be follow-up questions that will be asked on it. So that questions you'll be prepared to answer. So try to talk about something you are familiar with, and you should be familiar with details and the question within 1 minute and one pass to be in between that. Okay, now one of the important things to understand is ideally this particular long term section takes 2 minutes, not more than that. Any time under 2 minutes can result in a negative impact. Please keep in mind, you have to ensure that you talk enough content about the given topic. If you talk less than 2 minutes in this particular question, there's a possibility you will lose some points. Okay, now moving on to the next part of the IELTS essay, which is going to be the conclusion, or in other words, the discussion. Okay, now discussion would be an ideal word, is what I would say, because in this part, what they'll ask you is they'll go in depth discussion with the student on the topic given in the long term part. For example, if I asked about favorite pet, and depending on my answer, which is say my favorite pet is my dog, etc., etc., they'll try to understand, so what are the dog breeds you know about. They'll try to understand a little more about Labrador because you had a Labrador, right? What are its habits? Or they'll try to understand who was it friendly with and how does it behave. Those kind of questions in detail will be asked across to you, which will kind of test your ability to analyze and discuss opinions. Okay, now that's a very integral part of the journey while you go for a master's, because if you're not able to comprehend ideas, if you're not able to discuss your opinions, it becomes increasingly difficult to perform in a very competitive environment like a master's. So that is the reason why they have this particular round, to understand how you're able to analyze this. And you have to also understand there is no certain limit or no certain structure for this round. The questions can be at random, but it will be connected to the what you're talking about. So please keep in mind, one more important thing is that the way you receive the question and answer the question in context, in the same context, matters. If you answer something completely irrelevant, there's a possibility you will lose a lot of points in the IELTS examination. And that, I think, is something very crucial, which all of you should keep in mind when you approach for a IELTS examination. Okay, now these are the three important things you have to understand when you go for a speaking section. Now shall we move on to understand, based on my experience, I can share some common mistakes that students commit in the IELTS examination. Can we move on to understand what those mistakes are? Madhur, Shavani, Vishnu, Akash, Dinesh. Wonderful. A lot of yes coming in. So that's fantastic. Okay. So the most common mistakes that from my experience, that my students have done in the examination, first of all, is please keep in mind, introduction and an interview part involves you to be confidence. It's all about confidence. It's a pre-built script, guys. It's all about saying, hi, my name is Vishnu, and this is what I do, and I have a habit of doing this. I prefer travel. It's a very simple, very simple questions, right? So please keep in mind, students get very nervous when they look at the external examiner, because that particular person can be from a completely different accent. The person can have an Irish accent, Australia accent, Indian accent, American accent of English. Thereby, you become slightly nervous. Don't do that, because the moment you become nervous, the neurological understanding is very simple. Now, can we stick to a script in introduction? Definitely, in the introduction interview part, there can be a script that you can follow. Just keep in mind that don't use complex vocabulary that can backfire on you. Okay, but moving on to the long term part, guys. In the long term part, keep in mind difficulty in talking about a particular topic for a long duration. Now, for example, yes, Prithvi, you will be having a one-on-one conversation with the examiner. Now, guys, how many of you have had pet, at least one pet in your in your entire life? How many of you had pet? Yes or no? People have not had pet say no, no, no. People have said yes, yes, yes. Okay. I had eight. So far it's a 70% no and a 30% yes so far. Now, if the question comes to you to talk about what is your favorite pet, what would you answer? Sri CK has a question. What would you answer? Guys, yeah, I want to type it out and tell me a fish, a dog. Okay, my favorite pet is my dog. Another question. Okay. See, it is very simple. You can ask for a topic change, or you can actually be a smart person and say, you can talk about your friends who had pets. You can talk about your cousins who had pets. You can talk about relatives who had pets. You can just say, I have never had a pet of my own, but I plan or I wish to have one dog in my life in future. And I wish that breed to be, say, Labrador or German Shepherd, whichever you know, and like that. You can even say my favorite pet would be cheetah, right? Kaivalya Patel has said, her favorite pet would be cheetah, but I never had it. So you can even say that, but technically cheetah cannot be petted. But yeah, you have to be very, very good in improvising and talking about a certain habit. Right now, Shri Asha says, I wouldn't know the habits of my friend's dog. Now, would I? Now, Asha, definitely something that is true. But whatever your understanding of a dog, you should just be able to confidently talk about it, because at the end of the day, that particular speaking session is to understand whether or not you are able to take a stand and defend it in the language that they want you to understand. That's it. If you're able to take a stand and understand it, it is very, very simple to take it forward. Okay. Now, guys, can you just give me exactly, I mean, there's a small technical glitch here. Can you give me just 30 seconds? I'll fix the gap. Just 30 seconds, okay? All right, guys, is my voice loud and clear now? I think now I'm clear. A lot of people have requested some difficulties in hearing me. Fantastic. Now, a lot of questions have come in the meantime. Let me quickly look at the questions. Now, sir, is it possible to ask for a change of question, Sri CK? It's a pretty good question to ask, Sri Harsha. Now, if at all you're not comfortable with the given task card, yes, you can request the examiner saying, I'm not comfortable to talk about this, but it is not recommended for you to do it, because there is no explicit research or data released by either IDP or British Council to state that would you lose points exactly. There is no clear distinction that would you lose points or not. But from our understanding, from our students who have gone to take the IELTS examination via GREH, we have noticed students who have requested for change of topic have always got a lesser point compared to what we expected that student to score. For example, one such student here from GREH named Vikram, right? He approached the IELTS examination on December, and the topic given to him was slightly difficult for him to comprehend. But he requested for a change of topic. Even though his speaking skills were naturally brilliant, his vocabulary was great, he only managed to get a 7.5, and where 8.5 was possible for that particular student. Okay, so I would recommend that you can definitely ask for it. But sorry, I would say that you can ask for a change of question, but I would recommend you not to do it, and be prepared to answer any question. For example, like I said, if you're talking about pet, it's not that difficult. You just have to be slow and talk about it in detail. Now, Mudita Ahmad has a question. Is there any particular accent we have to speak? Guys, I'm going to be very, very honest and very, very clear about this. Using your Not using your own accent, trying a different accent in the IELTS examination, you can assume, take it for granted that you will lose points for it. Try not to use any accent. Try to be natural yourself. Hand gestures, like Nikita pointed out, is definitely welcome. The more expressive you are, the more more jovial you are with the speaker. That also adds to your point. Don't ask me if your attire will make an impression. Your attire will not make an impression, but your way you behave, the way you talk, definitely has a lot of impact in your scores. Okay. Now, adding to that, the discussion part, the questions can be a little hard. Unaware of the idioms and phrases, guys. How many of you know what an idiom and phrase is? Yeah. How many of you know about idiom and phrases? Yeah. Okay. Can you? Okay. Let me ask you this question. Can do anyone of you know what does it mean by a man with the golden, the golden handshake? The man with the golden arm is Stuart Clark. Sorry about that. But can anyone tell me what do you mean by a golden handshake? No, me, not me, not me. I don't know. Not sure. Not sure. Deal done, says Ashwini. Not me. Not me. Joyful. A one that benefits me, says Pranay. A firm handshake. Okay. Good opportunity. See, this is something you cannot guess and understand because that's a part of British English. It's very, very difficult to actually crack and understand what this would mean. Keep in mind a golden handshake means it technically means that you are kind of fired, but in a on a mutual note. That's what handshake means. Please keep that in mind. One more such example would be like a chip on his shoulder. Can anyone tell me what chip on his shoulder means? Anybody, have you heard this idiom or phrase? Okay, so I think dandruff, lol, says Sia Shah. Okay, I think C. Mantini has got it right. Basically, that means holding grudge. Okay, actually, it's having grudge. That's what it means. So, understanding these idioms and phrases is very, very important. We have compiled this list of idioms and phrases as a part of the GREH program, which will be shared with you for the people who have already joined. I'm pretty sure you will understand that all this. So, understanding each one of these aspects is very, very important, and these are the common mistakes I'm going to make. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a very, very important question here. How many of you here believe that it is easy to overcome these obstacles and score 7.5 or 8.5? Do you think it's easy, tough? What do you think? Tough, tough. Okay, medium, tough. Okay, tough, not easy, not so easy, tough, tough. Okay, not easy. All right, it's achievable, completely understandable, guys. Keep in mind, once a student just like you also joined GREH just about a month ago, Shrirupa said a student from Shiv Nada University scored a 9 in speaking and a total of 8.5, whereas her initial score before the 15 days training program was just a 6.5 and a speaking score of 7. Okay, so this is what she had to say. I prepared for 6 days using the study plan given by my SFA and had 2 speaking practice sessions with an IELTS expert provided by GREH. Okay, now what I'm trying to do here is that rather than talking to you about how, rather than giving you conceptual tips that do this, do this, do that, what I would like to do is help you understand a little about marking and evaluation. And then we look at some popular topics. In the end, I'll have a one on one speaking session with all of you. What do you think? Would that be useful for all of you? All right, wonderful. A lot of yes coming in right now. Okay, so I think we can get started with that. Now, first of all, you have to understand that the marking in IELTS speaking section is very, very, very simple. They look at four important factors: this fluence and coherence. This is very, very important. How fluent and coherent are you in your explanation? Lexical resource, nothing but vocabulary. What kind of tools you have to cope up with this particular aspect? Then we look at the grammatical range and accuracy, pronunciation. Now, from my experience here at GREH, students find difficulty in two important aspects, which is fluency and coherence is something I have seen a common difficulty. Lexical resources is one very important aspect. The real problem actually is in the grammar range and accuracy. This is something that people don't know that even they are making mistake. This is very difficult to cure and it's very difficult to cure. This requires a lot of attention when you look at a little more detailed manner on how things actually work. Okay, so my sincere suggestion is that when you start your IELTS preparation, have a one personal feedback loop. Somehow you have to have feedback loop that will help you improve this from an external environment. Now, Pranay, I understand you have speaking on 23rd. I think the coming session would be very, very helpful for you. The popular topics based on our discussion here so far at our GREH is that usually what they ask in introduction and interview round is that they will ask you to talk about pets, future plans, celebrities, family, books. First of all, you can introduce yourself and then they'll ask you who is the most favorite person in your family. Or they'll ask what are your future plans when you go abroad. Or they'll ask you what are your favorite celebrities in this particular domain. They'll ask you these kind of very specific questions. They talk about that in detail. Now, the next part is slightly a little, you have to have that ability to innovate and think on your feet. For example, the long term and discussion, the very most important topics is the favorite movie that has come in, the interesting advertisement you've come across, starting a business, what do you think about it? What is the success of business? Person you met recently, how do you socialize? Some more questions like luck. What do you think? Does luck play an important role in success of a person? These kind of very, very generic questions that they like to understand your opinion and ask you on that. Based on this, then they'll help you understand how to improve it. Okay, now these are the primary ways to go about it. Now, shall we start with the long term, guys? Shall we start a one-on-one speaking session with long term, guys? Now, I think because rather than, like I said, I prefer on hands-on learning where I have a discussion with my students and understand how to approach them. So, shall we start? Avinash, they'll give you only one question out of the given topics. These are just some sample topics. Okay. Now, let me have some quick volunteers here. How many of you would like to take up a one-on-one session with me? Wow, a lot of yes coming in right now. Okay, so let me just quickly look at the list. I'll give you exactly 30 seconds. I'll show you a task card. Okay, I'll show you a task card. Look at the task card and then tell me how would you build this particular topic. Okay, this is because that plays a very important role, guys. I think rather than me explain, let me just give you the topic and get started. So 30 seconds, I'll give you a mic access to one of you guys at random, and you guys have to be prepared for this particular event. Okay, so here you go. This is the task card for you today. Clothes. 30 seconds starts now. All right, so I think we can officially get started with student here. Okay, so let me just quickly look at the attendee list so far. All right, so Bhavna, I think you've already taken a shot here. So I'll just try to give access. Bhavna, Are you able to hear me? You can try talking now, Bhavana. I think.
Okay, sir. Hello.
Hi, Bhavana. Welcome. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Hello, sir. So clothes. The topic is clothes, right? So I like casual style clothes. They are literally they are simple, classy, and inoccasional wears we can wear. We can even. I mean, they're like we can wear it anytime. It doesn't matter in any occasion we are going. Huh? But it do matters when the some sort of like wedding or ceremony occasions are there where yeah, there is matter, but I don't think so. Ki, apart from those occasions, other I mean other occasions as compared to it. So
Okay.
is that
Yes. I think that's a very well put response, Bhavana. I think I'll evaluate your answer after a couple of students have also spoken now. Thank you, Bhavana.
okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
All right. So, guys, who's next? Who wants to go next? I think Avinash Naidu has been very. I think he has a good answer to say. I think I can try with Avinash Naidu here. So this is Avinash Naidu. Avinash, if you unmute yourself, you'll be able to talk to me right now. Okay, I think there is a small glitch here, Avinash. Okay, so Kaivalya says I want to go. Okay, so let me have. So Kaivalya, if you unmute yourself, you will talk. Are you able to see the mic button? Yes.
Hello,
Yes,
can you hear me?
Kaivalya. Yes, I can hear you. Please get started.
Okay, my understanding of the clothes begins with the thing that first of all, the clothes were introduced to hide or shed to protect ourselves, our body from cold and wind. But nowadays, the clothes are tend to uh, show your personality, your style. But I believe that the clothing must be simple and formal because it shows that the person which you are means if you tend to be professional, the clothing which you wear is formal and you look really good in that uh, rather than these leather jackets and all that things. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for that, Everett. That's a very, very well, good response. I'll review your speaking immediately after this. I can have one more student giving it a shot here, right? Okay. So, all right. So, guys, I see a lot more people coming in right now. I'll just try to, have one more voice here. I think the most active participants, I think Mudita was available throughout the webinar. So, Mudita, I've given access for your mic.
Hello,
Yes, Mudita.
am I audible?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for choosing me. Clothes for me are for comfort, and the idea I have is that I don't like how people judge others on the basis of their clothes. I don't think that character should be judged on the basis of clothes. And apart from this, formal clothes attract me. Thank you.
All right, all right. Thank you for that, Vidita. All right, now we've got okay. Probably have time for one more because we have your so Sri CK. I think you have been very very active participation here. So I've given you mic access. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Yes, CK. Tell me.
I think clothes are one of the basic necessities for a human being. A human being needs food, clothing, shelter. So clothes is considered to be one of the basic necessity for a human being. Right from the ancient times, people never used to cover themselves. But later on, as there was civilization, they started to
That's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, CK. I think you've started really well. Hello. Hello. Okay. So I think we have lost Sri CK here. I think he started really, really well. It was a very fantastic way to start. his response. So I think he has done a good job here. Now we've seen four people take attempts at this particular answer. Now, from your understanding, given the first four guys who've taken a guess here, which one do you think was really good? Which one do you think was really good? Last one, third one, last one, third one, last one, second one, no one, fourth one. Okay. All right. Now, see, at the risk, I first of all, I wish, or I think the all four of you tried really, really well. Given you put on the spot, there was a lot of good response coming right now. I would like to appreciate the third person, the fourth person, that is Mudita and Sri CK. The way you started the response was fantastic. You are very clear that the idea of this go to platform requires you to have that greetings, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for your opportunity, and then start talking about it. Now, that shows that you have that basic understanding on how to converse with a certain student. Now, that's called being jovial. Now, that's a concept that is very important when you go for an IELTS examination. Now, but on the other hand, the third person, Mudita, your content in terms of the content, it was too low for what you've talked about, and also the context was pretty good, but the content you had was very very minimalistic, which I believe you should work on. And the fourth one, the way he started Sri Siki was fantastic. I think the way he has built it from ancestors, they didn't have clothing, and then it started as the evolved civilization. That's pretty good. But only one thing was problem with Sri Siki. Can anyone tell me what do you think that issue was? There was one important issue that Sri Siki missed out on. Exactly, Sriharsha, you got it right. The fillers, if you just listen to Sri CK talk properly, his content is fantastic. He's very coherent in nature, but the fillers he use like that kind of affects your marks. And you know how you can solve it, Sri CK? See, why these fillers happen is because your mind is acting faster, way too fast than your voice, or it's the other way around. Either your voice is too fast or your mind is too fast. You have to continue that in a very, very syllabus manner. For example, there are certain exercises that we give in the IELTS program here at GRH, which will help you make that very coherent in nature. Now, Sri Harsha pointed the first one also, the first student who take an attempt. There were certain problems like she used the word key. Did anyone you listen to that? She used the word key as a part of her language. Now, keep in mind that shows that not, you don't have clarity in your thought process, which means that you have to put yourself in a very difficult position, talk to multiple people, get random strangers, and try to converse at a much better pattern. The second student, good response. I think it was very well built. But he started with, my understanding of cloth is, first of all. Now, in these words, is there any valuable content that is added to the discussion? My understanding of the cloth is, first of all, right? There is no addition of value to the given statement. It is just a restatement of the question itself. Thereby, that is a very important problem to keep in mind. And the fact words like cold and wind shows that you lack vocabulary, because you could have just said that it keeps you safer from the extreme weather conditions. That itself will do the job of what you are trying to express. Okay, now I think all of you take a very very good guess, and just that, now think about it. First of all, you can build a flow like this. How much importance do you give your clothes you wear? What do you think, guys? You can answer as we ask questions to you. How much importance do you think you give your clothes you wear? 100, medium to high, most important, very important, right? That would be your first answer. The high, sir, the preference I give to my clothing is very very high, I think, or very very medium, because I believe it's a fashion statement. I believe it's my character. I believe it's this, that kind of very simplistic opinion relate clothes to you, right? And then the questions like, what kind of clothes do you wear? This kind of question you can answer yourself. So then you can move on. For example, some people tried saying, I wear casuals, I wear formals. So you can move on to understand, I prefer wearing casuals when I go for friend parties, outings. I prefer going with the formal clothing when I go to my office or when I go to my college. So that kind of very, very simplistic building of clothes, building of the topic, connecting ideas will make you a very, very brilliant person, right? Now this kind of flow will come only when when you connect every topic to yourself and get feedback from an external environment. Guys, I will be very honest with you. Out of my experience here at GRE, I've seen students from various English backgrounds. Some people read books avidly. Some people are not a big fan of English. Some people hate English. The points are not dependent on what kind of English background you are from. It's about how confident and how clear you are in your thought process, and thereby you have to be a very clear person in communication. That's what I'm trying to say. So the evaluation that will be happening is, for example, from my experience, I think the students, the flow of speech for all of you was average except for the fourth student. Logical sequencing idea for the fourth student was good, others was okay. Consistent language was fair. The range of words, precaution of words, the use of the fillers were all fair. But please keep in mind you have to work on stress and rhythm, enunciation and complexity. These are some of the important aspects you have to work on and get a much better clarity on this. Okay. Now, before we move forward to the next part, Pranay Valia, from my experience, the last speaker would get, say, a 7, a 6.5 to 7 would be my rating for the last student, because there's a lot more scope of improvement there. I would say I'm giving a very, very high rating for the student for the performance. Okay, right? Shizike, don't take it for granted. I wanted to work on this. You have a very good content. Work on your fillers. Work on being a little more slower. Okay, if you start thinking slower, you'll be able to get a much better picture. Right. So, Kaivalya, my recommendation for you is that your vocabulary needs to improve phenomenally. You have to work on getting your thought process very clear. That is something you have to work on. My answer would be like 5.5 at best. Okay, but believe me, just working on vocabulary, I think your lexical resources, you would be able to jump up by a big number. Okay, now this is my expert feedback. Right, so thank you so much, guys. Until I see you in my upcoming webinars, this is Vishnu signing off. A very good evening and take care, guys.